it's critical that municipalities are involved and part of the team because tariffs, the impact of tariffs, they play out in our municipalities. They play out in our cities. The jobs are located in our cities. The costs are incurred by residents that live in our cities and in our municipalities. So this is really where the proverbial rubber hits the road and the impact plays out. And so it's really, really important that mayors and councillors across this nation be part of the discussion, be part of the solutions.
Welcome to Municipal Affairs. In this episode of the show, we're talking about international collaboration, trade, and what it all means for municipalities. Last month, Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham traveled to Phoenix, Arizona to attend the 2025 U.S. Mayors Conference. But he wasn't just there as mayor of Winnipeg. He was also representing Canada in his role as vice president of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Big City Mayors Caucus. While in Phoenix, Mayor Gillingham met with 50 U.S. mayors to discuss the impact of tariffs and trade barriers on local economies. And in a post on social media, Mayor Gillingham shared that with the help of FCM, they highlighted just how much Canadian trade and investment means to cities across the U.S. The conversations, according to the mayor, focused on keeping borders open, ensuring trade remains strong, and finding ways for cities on both sides of the border to work together. And in our one-on-one interview with Mayor Gillingham today, we'll speak about what he heard during his travels and his discussions with key figures, including Democratic Mayor Andrew Ginther of Columbus, Ohio, who is also the chair of the U.S. Mayors Conference, and Republican Mayor David Holt of Oklahoma City, the current vice president, who is soon to be taking over as president in June. And of course, we'll break down what's happened now that the new tariffs have been put into place, what it means for Canadian municipalities, how it will affect U.S. cities, and where do local governments go from here. That's all ahead on Municipal Affairs today, so stay tuned.
Did you know that Manitoba's municipalities have a voice working tirelessly for them every day? That's the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, your trusted partner in advocacy and action. From local roads to economic development, emergency services to community planning, the AMM ensures municipal priorities are heard loud and clear. They work side by side with local leaders and municipalities, empowering them to tackle the challenges that matter most to their communities. At the AMM, they bring municipalities together, united on the key issues and stronger as a team. Together, they work to make sure your community's concerns don't just get heard, they get action. So whether it's building infrastructure, strengthening local economies, or shaping provincial and federal policy, the AMM is here to make municipal issues matter. The Association of Manitoba Municipalities, advocating for your community, making a difference for all Manitobans. Learn more about how AMM is helping your community at amm.mb.ca.
Mayor Gillingham, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about your most recent travels to Phoenix and what you heard at the 2025 U.S. Mayors Conference in Phoenix, Arizona, where you spoke with delegates and mayors from across the United States. Right off the bat, what did you hear and what was the message that you brought from a Canadian perspective to the U.S. mayors?
Well, one of the first things I heard is, first of all, I got a really warm reception from the U.S. mayors. And, one of them came up to me and she said, she's American California. She said, first of all, welcome here. Second of all, we just want you to know we respect your sovereignty as a nation, and we do not want you to be the 51st state. So, and that was the general consensus, both from Democratic mayors, and Republican mayors as well. It really was clear to me from my conversation with the mayors that the rhetoric coming from the U.S. is coming out of Washington, coming out of President Trump and those closest to him. It was not a sentiment that was shared by mayors, again, regardless of their political affiliation.
Was there a message that you wanted to bring as not only as mayor of the city of Winnipeg, but also in your other role as FCM Big City Mayor Caucus Vice President?
Yeah, and that's really the capacity, Chris, that I was there in as vice chair of the Big City Mayors Caucus. And so we have been invited as FCM to come and take part in the U.S. Conference of Mayors Winter Conference. It's their leadership team. And the message was this that I delivered. Tariffs hurt. They'll hurt everybody. They will hurt U.S. cities and Canadian cities. The nation's economies, whether it's in Canada or the United States, flow through our cities or are centered in our cities many of the times. And so tariffs are really a tax that ultimately get passed on to the consumers, the customers, and it will hit the pocketbooks of everyday, residents of our respective cities. It'll make it more expensive for cities to do business as well, whether cities have infrastructure projects that require steel and aluminum, or whether cities are trying to build housing that requires softwood lumber out of Canada, or whether cities' transit departments need more buses, that if they're hit with a tariff every time they cross the border, which they do multiple times in production, it's going to cost more. So the message was clear. It was twofold. Tariffs will cost every one of us. They'll cost us more. And second of all, looking for them to assist us with really leveraging their relationships with senators, congressmen and women, and then also state legislators to get that message across. So I found good alignment and a really good reception.
Do you think they heard you?
I believe they did. Just 2 days ago, on March the 3rd, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which represents 1,500 cities, mayors of 1,500 cities, issued a statement. And the statement position was that the U.S. Conference of Mayors supports policies to reinforce the USMCA agreement, encouraging investment, and calling on the federal government to abandon the concept of tariffs.
One of the meetings that you did hold, and I know this for a fact because it was posted on your social media account, was you had a conversation with Democratic Mayor Andrew Ginther, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, the mayor of Columbus, Ohio, who chairs the U.S. Mayor's Conference. What was the message and what was that conversation like? Because he is coming up at the end of his term right now. So what was the message that you had for him, and what was the conversation like between you, yourself, and the mayor?
It was a good conversation, and an open conversation. And, because he's obviously in his role so connected to all the mayors in whether it's northern states or southern states or Midwest, he understands that tariffs will hit each of them, hit each city differently. And our message was really the general overall fact that really tariffs ultimately lead to job losses in Canada. It could lead to job losses in Canada and the US. They hit the people of our cities ultimately in the pocketbook because the consumers have to pay. The cost of tariffs get passed on to consumers. And so it was just a message and a dialogue that was a mutual understanding that we need to do all we can, if possible, to leverage our respective relationships on both sides of the border to fight against tariffs and their impact.
While the Columbus mayor is a Democrat, you also spoke with Republicans, Mayor David Holt of Oklahoma City, who is currently the vice president, going to be president here in June. Was there a difference in approach of conversation between the Democratic side or the Republican side, or as municipal leaders, you know that what's good for Canada is good for the United States, and party lines has nothing to do with it at this time?
It really felt like the latter, as you described it. I really did not find a difference in the response of Republican or Democratic mayors to what we were saying about the need to abandon the concept of tariffs. I mean, some of the Republican mayors were are mayors of cities in Michigan. They absolutely understand the detrimental impact on the auto sector, which employs so many people in their city, that the potential detrimental impact that tariffs would have. And, so I was able to actually make connection between and kind of facilitate through text exchange introductions to my colleague, Mayor Drew Dilkins of Windsor, who's fighting the good fight, because his Canadian city will be really impacted by tariffs, a big auto sector city. I was able to make connections between Mayor Dilkins of Windsor and some of the Republican mayors in Michigan, who also have plants or have residents who are employed in the auto sector. And Republican, Democrat, Canadian, American, as a mayor, really didn't matter. Everybody knows tariffs are not good.
Now, while tariffs aren't good, they are a reality that we currently live in. As of recording this, about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, it was announced there was going to be some pauses, there was going to be some carve-outs on some tariffs, but there's going to be still a tariff on the majority of goods going into the United States from Canada. Have you had any conversations outside of the one earlier this week with any mayors to start talking about how this is going to impact your economies? Because now we live in the realities that tariffs are here.
We have ongoing conversations. I haven't had one today, or I haven't had one today with any of my other colleagues across Canada. But I do know this: as part of the Big City Mayors Caucus, we have made the decision to stand with our premiers, who, for all intents and purposes, are standing united, and to stand with our federal leaders as well, who are taking a strong Team Canada approach. We really see ourselves as mayors as part of Team Canada, and that approach to act with one voice, to come up with solutions that try to protect jobs and paychecks within our cities locally, try to assist the local sectors within our cities who are being affected, and then trying to unite with other cities, provinces, and our national leaders to combat the tariffs.
So close to home in Winnipeg, what is the city doing now that the tariffs are here? There are some municipalities who are talking about procurement rules, procurement challenges, only going the Buy Canadian route. What does the city of Winnipeg do now in the short term while we still wait for what tomorrow holds with President Donald Trump?
Yeah, and it can change hour by hour, can't it? He's quite a chaotic individual, and you just never know what's coming next from the president. But what we at the City of Winnipeg are doing is, first of all, we're tracking, the process for U.S. purchases. We asked our staff already to do an analysis and then to provide to council through a council seminar information on, how much the City of Winnipeg procures from the U.S. directly, whether we have contracts with U.S. companies directly, or buy product or things and supplies directly from the U.S. The result was that we actually do very little direct purchase from U.S. suppliers. So that was good to know. But our staff has already instructed their departments to look at alternatives to U.S. as far as the supply chain, look at other Canadian suppliers if they're available, look to Europe if available, to see whether or not we can make sure that when we're buying things that we need to run the City of Winnipeg, we're looking at markets other than the US. So that's one thing we're already doing. We're working closely with the province of Manitoba. We're going to kind of follow their lead and work in partnership with them on coordinating the procurement strategy. So when it comes to future contracts and procuring other supplies, we're as I say, we're working with the province. They're making decisions. We want to be in lockstep with Premier Canoe and the province of Manitoba in doing that as well. And now we've asked for regular public reporting. So we have a standing committee that reports monthly publicly. It's the Committee on Finance and Economic Development. Our chief financial officer will report monthly to that committee publicly on the status of all things tariff related, how it's impacting the City of Winnipeg, how it's impacting maybe our contracts, the supplies that we use, the costs of things like buses, anything like that, fleet vehicles, all of that. That'll be a monthly regular reporting. So we'll have that publicly available every month.
How important is it for municipalities to be on the Team Canada approach when we're dealing with these tariffs? Because traditionally, international trade is not a municipal jurisdictional issue, but it seems like FCM, Big City Mayor Caucus, all the provincial organizations, whether it be AMM, whether it be all the other ones, are taking this seriously. How important is it for that municipal voice to be heard federally and internationally at these conferences like the U.S. Mayor's Conference?
It's critical that municipalities are involved and part of the team, because tariffs, the impact of tariffs, they play out in our municipalities. They play out in our cities. The jobs are located in our cities. The costs are incurred by residents that live in our cities and in our municipalities. So this is really where the proverbial rubber hits the road and the impact plays out. And so it's really, really important that mayors and councillors across this nation be part of the discussion, be part of the solutions.
Final question for before I let you go. Are you optimistic that the future is bright for Canada? Because these tariffs will impact our economy, and that means people are going to struggle, and they've just come out of a challenging time and the downturn in the economy. Are you optimistic that the future of Canada is bright and that we're going to get through this together?
I'm optimistic that our future as a nation is bright. I really am. I think for sure there's some choppy days ahead, and there's going to be some hurt in between today and getting to that bright future. Because as long as tariffs go on, we're going to be feeling the impact. Different cities are going to feel it differently. I think of Windsor and other places in Ontario with maybe the auto sector. I think of Alberta and the energy sector. I mean, those cities, those provinces may feel it more acutely, but every city will be impacted. Our city will be impacted as well. We're going to get through it, and I can tell you, we will always be Canada. We will never be the 51st state. That rhetoric by the president is frankly reprehensible and offensive. And I've never seen Canadians more united. I think, someone asked me that question recently. I think the last time I've seen Canadians sincerely this united was during the Quebec referendum. So the sense of national pride and unity is unlike we have felt for decades. So we'll get through this. It's going to hurt for a while, but we'll get through this.
And it seems like you didn't get, it wasn't held against you that Canada beat the United States while you were in Phoenix as well. So that's good.
No, it wasn't. A couple that, not every mayor, of course, follows hockey. Some did, but it was all in good nature. What it felt like is in discussions with the mayors in Phoenix, it felt like kind of it always feels. They see us as allies. They see us as friends. They see us as an integrated trade partner whose trading relationship is really, really important. What is coming out of Washington seems to be coming out of Washington and is not the sentiment, I don't think, that is felt at large across the United States.
Mayor Gillingham, thank you so much for your time and sitting down and chatting about this. I feel like this is probably going to be a few more conversations as this unfolds. So thank you so much for taking time today.
I appreciate the opportunity, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Municipal Affairs. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights into the role that the Big City Mayor Caucus is doing in advocating for Team Canada. To stay in the loop with all of our latest episodes, don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube, or follow us on social media at Cross Border Network. For even more content and learn more about the stories and people we feature on this show, plus our other shows, please visit us online at crossborderinterviews.ca. Your support means the world to us, so share this episode with your friends and help keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you next time here on Municipal Affairs. Till then, everyone.